Take one. I'm going to cut this off. Hello, and welcome to theqbrand.com. I am your friend and expert Q, Quinetha Frazier, and this is our time where we spend a couple minutes talking through the things you need to know before you reach out to anyone for funding. I talk to churches, individuals, and nonprofits literally every day. And the one thing that's always on their heart and on their mind is how they can grow, start, or fund their program with someone else's money. And I don't want to say that. I'm going to take that again. Welcome. Welcome to theqbrand.com. I am Quinetha Frazier, affectionately known as Q, and thank you for joining us so that you can find all the resources you need to start, grow, or fund your vision. Now, we'll spend our time together here just going through some of the questions that I get all the time from people just like you who are interested in starting, growing, or funding a nonprofit, a church, a community program, and in some instances, a business that has a social focus. So I'm just going to go through some questions that I get and I receive and things that I hear all the time so that I can save you time and money before you go out and hire someone to help you to do these things and before you go out and waste your time. I'm going to do that again. This is harder than it looks. Harder than it looks. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay. Welcome to theqbrand.com. Your resource. Yeah. Okay. Welcome to theqbrand.com, where we provide resources to fund your vision. I'm Q. Your friend and expert about everything relating to starting, growing, and funding your program, project, or idea. Now, most of you know me and you know that I've spent the last 20 years helping organizations and individuals to identify and secure funding. But where my heart really is where yours is. And that is being able to take something that's true to you from your time, your talent, your skills, or your abilities, and converting it into a program, project, or business that can impact your local community or economy. So today, we're going to talk specifically about 3 things that you must know and you must have before you ask anyone for funding. And that doesn't matter whether you're asking for grant funding or you're going to do individual donors or you plan on asking some corporation or some other organization to partner with you. These are 3 things that you absolutely must have in place before you identify and then solicit funds from any outside person. And the reason why I know this is because I talk to nonprofits, churches, and individuals literally every day, and I get the same questions. And I find people in a variety of places, but at the end of the day, we're all looking for funding, right? So these 3 points that I'm giving you, I'm telling you, you have to have them because I talk to people all the time who don't have them and they waste time and lots of money paying consultants, paying for programs and things that can't help them because they're simply unprepared. So let's get to it. Let's do this together. Now, the first thing that I want to leave you with, if you don't listen to another thing, is one is probably the most sage piece of advice that I've ever received. And that's simply, if you don't have your vision written down, then it's simply a dream. And, yes, we're talking about vision and something you've conceptualized, but it's not real until it's written, and you cannot attract funding from anyone else until you have it written down. So please take that piece of advice. Now, in the way of the 3 things. So if you are going to ask anyone for money, any grant money, any loan money, any individual donations, or even a business loan, you got to have 3 things. The first thing that you've got to have is a legal entity. That means, what are you going to operate this program, project, or business under? Will it be a for-profit business or will it be a non-profit business? And we're going to talk a lot about that today. The second thing that you must have is a program plan or a business model. Now, we're going to talk about that at our next time, but the program plan or the business model doesn't mean a 50-page document explaining every intricacy of how you're going to run your company or how you're going to run your nonprofit, but there has to be some description, some summary, some executive overview of what you intend to do it, how you plan to do it, and who in fact you're going to be helping. And the third thing that you must have is what's called a revenue model. Now you may be thinking in the mind of a budget. You're going in the right direction. And you may be saying, maybe you're talking about, Quinetha, me doing my financial projections. Yes. The revenue model just means that you understand exactly how you're going to make or attract money and where you're going to spend it. And the revenue model defines what that process looks like and what those projections can be. So those are the three main things: the legal entity, the program plan or business model, and then the revenue model, or what you may be calling a budget or financial projections. But today we're going to get started with the lowest hanging fruit, and that is the legal entity. Now, I probably talked to about 5 people this week, and honest to God, they all had the same exact question. They said, Q, so I have an idea, I have a program, my church has been doing this after school program for years. And we want to know, should we set up a separate nonprofit entity to be able to carry this out? The other part of that question is, Q, I have a great idea to do a mobile health clinic. I want to be able to take health services into rural areas. Should this be a for-profit business or should this be a nonprofit business? Well, let me walk you through what you should be considering for either of those options. The number one consideration as to whether you should start a for-profit business or a nonprofit business is what you intend to accomplish. And let me tell you what I mean. If you plan on accomplishing a true and pure social mission, and you know that the way you in fact intend to carry it out is in the way of a program that will 100% benefit a target population, then you probably want to start a nonprofit organization. Let me give you a better defined understanding of what that means. That means as a nonprofit organization that you will be setting up a separate organization with a separate board whose sole mission is to have a charitable purpose. And the IRS says that that charitable purpose can range from anywhere from educational and literary or scientific or even religious, all the way to what they've lumped together as being charitable, meaning it benefits some other segment of the population. If that's at the heart of what you hope to accomplish, then the nonprofit is probably the best avenue for you. Now, I will say this: starting a nonprofit doesn't mean that you plan on or in some way guaranteeing that you're going to attract grants. Grants follows programs that have impact, and we're going to talk about that another day. But I want you to understand that over 90% of all grants awarded are awarded to nonprofit entities, to 501c3 tax-exempt organizations. Now, to my churches, my faith-based organizations who may be listening, I talk to pastors. I got a call today from a pastor who is undertaking a huge community project, and he fully intends on asking some local corporations and companies for support. I mean, it's in fact a true to-the-bone community program. Well, my response to him is, if you plan on asking for money from anyone in the corporate arena, and this is in fact a true community program, not a church program, then it would behoove you to set up a separate 501c3. Now, we're going to have another time to talk about all the intricacies related to the church and their tax exempt status and why it's smart to set up a separate nonprofit. But for today, for general information, yes, set the nonprofit up if you know that your mission and what you're trying to accomplish is truly charitable, and in fact it will be carried out in the way of a program or a project that benefits a target population. Now, the other side of the legal entity opportunities would be setting up a for-profit entity. Now, with full disclosure, I'm not talking about a traditional profit maximizing for-profit private sector business. My point of reference when I say setting up a for-profit entity is one that still has a social mission at its core. It's what we refer to as a social enterprise. Now, if you know that your goal is to set up a company, a product, a service, or some type of intellectual asset that will be sold, and you totally plan to sell it, and you want to be able to share in the profitability of that program, project, or item, then the for-profit entity is probably the best avenue for you. Now, the consideration of setting up the for-profit entity is it can be privately owned, right? Which means you can start it today, file your paperwork, go through the process and get it started. But the for-profit entity is not the ideal candidate for a grant. And again, I'm not positioning or suggesting that the grant is the answer for the social mission. I believe it's not, and we can debate about that another day. But what I am suggesting is that if you know that you want to create an organization, a company that has a social focus, but has a product or a service that can easily be translated to the general marketplace, then yes, start a for-profit company. And with the understanding that the revenues or the income generated by that separate for-profit entity can 100% be tied to your social mission. It can absolutely do both. But you're not going to be the ideal candidate for a grant award. Now, do I have clients that are for-profit business that get grants? Yes. But it's because of deep things that make them special. They're doing programming in the community. We'll talk about that another day. But just for a general clarification, if you're a small business, for instance, and you're going to open a camera shop, and it's a regular camera shop, and you love cameras and you just want to sell cameras, if you call me and say, Q, I want to open this camera shop. I'm an African-American business owner. I'm going to open it in this downtown area that has a lot of slight and blight. Can I get a grant? My answer is probably no, because you're not even the type of entity that could attract grants. If you said, Quinitha, I have a heart for kids. I've been a photographer for 25 years. I really want to train kids how to operate cameras and how they can use the gift of the sector of photography to build their own business and to become, specialists in photography and learn that they can do that other than, as a way to escape high-risk households, then you're telling me you want to operate a program that's targeted to at-risk youth, that's helping them with workforce development and career preparation, and you're helping them to build job skills. That's much different than just running a camera shop. So you can see in the instance of the community program, the youth program, that it has a charitable mission. So the charitable mission is what is grant worthy, not you selling cameras for a profit, because that in fact doesn't benefit anyone but you. And I hate to make it that black and white, but that really is how it boils down when you're thinking about a grant. So now you understand the importance of the legal entity. The legal entity that you choose will in fact determine the types of funding that you will attract. So the second consideration of what type of legal entity is what type of funding do you think you're going to be able to attract. And again, use the litmus test that I just described for you. Is this something that's charitable that will benefit people outside of myself, some target population, some targeted location, in a charitable way, literary, educational, scientific, religious, or other? Or is this a true for-profit company that, yes, is tied to a social mission, but it has a product, a service, or some type of asset that you fully intend to take to the marketplace? Then the for-profit entity is probably the best thing for you, understanding that revenues, sales will be the way that you will fund your vision there versus depending on grants or donations to support it. I hope that was helpful for you. Absolutely reach out to me and send me your questions. Email me at QUE@theQbrand.com. Visit my website, www.theqbrand.com. I have great free toolkits and resources for you there. That's also how you can reach out to me to get private coaching around these areas. Or if you want to do it yourself, I got lots of kits out there. You can go and watch my to-do videos and knock it out. Trust me, you can do it, and we absolutely can do it together. So thanks for joining me, and I'll talk to you soon.